Okay, in this third task, I'm going to give you each a scenario about an unusual circumstance or emergency situation. I'd like you to consider the scenario and speak for about 2 minutes about what can happen. Your responses should follow the prompts on these cards.
Thank you.
So, Bianca, your scenario is that a twin-engined commercial airliner on approach to your airport reports unsafe indication in its landing gear. And in your scenario is that your aircraft in level flight at flight level 250 experiences a sudden loss of pressurization. Okay, do you both understand your scenarios?
Yes.
Okay, so you have 1 minute to prepare your responses. All right, I'd like you to go first. What's your scenario?
My aircraft has a sudden loss of pressure at flight level 250.
Okay, thank you. Bianca, I'd like you to listen to In, and when he's finished speaking, ask him a question about something specific he has said. So In, I'd like you to speak to Bianca for about 2 minutes about your scenario.
When my aircraft experiences a sudden loss of pressure at flight level 250, it's an emergency situation. You cannot breathe the air at flight level 250 because there is not enough oxygen, and it is immediately necessary to descend to an altitude where you can breathe the air. Maybe 10,000 feet or whatever is the minimum safe altitude. Depending if I know about damage to the aircraft or the problem, I will announce PAN call or Mayday call. Usually Mayday. In the Mayday call, I will state Mayday, 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 then the name of the control station and my call sign. I say emergency descent due to lot of pressure and give the intention of the captain. This is Mayday, a diversion and emergency landing or continue flight to planned destination at the safe altitude. I change my squawk to 7700. This is an emergency squawk, so people know that I have a problem. It may be possible that I must descend without warning and without communication to quickly descend the aircraft to a safe altitude, and that there is no time to reset to the emergency squawk. Also, if I have the oxygen mask on in the cockpit, this can make a problem with the RT. After the emergency descent, I contact the air traffic control unit and tell them my position, my new flight level, and my heading. Also, ATC will want to know how many people I have on the aircraft, my POB. The controller will acknowledge the Mayday, but maybe he has already seen the descent on the radar. He will take all necessary action to maintain separation and will tell aircraft is in area of my craft in emergency descent. He may suggest a heading and tell me the minimum safe altitude. He will maintain separation and give me any essential traffic information. Maybe he will make an emergency broadcast to traffic on his station. After the emergency descent, he asks my intentions. If I want to diversion, if I have injuries on board, if the aircraft is damaged. He will inform other sectors, all sectors and control units to my destination airport, and ATC considers my aircraft in an emergency situation until I land. Also, I or controller informs my company of the problem.
Thank you, In. Bianca, could you ask In your question?
Yeah, In, for your emergency descent, do you descend on the same heading?
If I can, I will turn away from my track before I begin the emergency descent, because there is a problem with other aircraft below me and separation. Also, I turn on the aircraft lights so other aircraft can see me, and I watch for conflicting traffic as I descend and with T-cars.
Yes, when we have an aircraft, an emergency descent, our instruction is to always try to clear the airspace below the descending aircraft.
For safety.
Yes, for safety. Also, we know there's a problem with not enough oxygen, and that this makes the pilot confused, or maybe he will be a little bit slow or will not follow our instructions when we tell them.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, In. Now, Bianca, what is your scenario, please?
My scenario is that an aircraft on approach to my airport reports an unsafe indication with its landing gear.
Okay, so In, I'd like you to listen to Bianca.
Yeah.
When she's finished, I'd like you to ask her a question about something specific that she has said. So, Bianca, could you speak to In for about 2 minutes about your scenario?
So, if an aircraft on approach reports unsafe indication of landing gear, this can be a problem with the landing gear extension, and then probably the aircraft will not want to land immediately. It's an urgency situation, but it's not an emergency situation at the beginning. I mean, right from the start. And I don't think that the pilot will make a mayday. The pilot informs ATC, maybe approach, maybe tower control, that there is a problem, and I ask, what are your intentions? The pilot may request proceed to holding area in order to carry out checks. And I will give them necessary instructions and clearances. If the pilot sees the problem on final approach, minimum is a go-around. Already I'm thinking about restricting the use of the runway by other aircraft until I know what is happening, and informing other aircraft in approach that there is a problem. If the pilot cannot find the answer to the problem, then maybe he will request a visual inspection. So he says maybe landing gear down but maybe not locked. And I ask him again his intentions, and he says, we intend to make a low pass near the tower to have the undercarriage checked. I give him instructions for his low pass. Maybe make a low pass at 200 feet, runway heading north of the tower. The aircraft makes the low pass and we see the landing gear. We cannot say the landing gear is okay. We can only say your landing gear seems to be completely extended. Then the pilot must decide his action and inform us of his intentions. So he says, request emergency services and we intend to land. Then I instruct him in his final approach and landing. I clear the runway. Also, I check that towing equipment is on standby. The aircraft may have reduced braking capability, and I make sure the safety strip is clear. When the aircraft lands, there is the possibility that the undercarriage collapses or that the aircraft loses directional control. More damage can occur if a tire bursts when the aircraft lands, and also there is then the possibility of a fuel leak. We must just watch the situation and evacuate the aircraft as soon as possible. And yeah, of course, at the start of the emergency, I inform my supervisor and alert airport emergency service. If the pilot asks me, I will inform his company. Maybe he will want to speak to an engineer.
Thank you, Bianca. In, could you ask Bianca your question?
Bianca, is a low pass near the tower the only way to have visual inspection?
No, there's also the possibility for a visual inspection from another aircraft. We can maybe call a search and rescue helicopter, and ask them to take position where they can see into the aircraft, or if there is another aircraft in this area. Yeah, this is possible.
And if an aircraft cannot extend the landing gear, what can happen?
If the landing gear is not down at all, then we prepare the runway for a belly landing. Clear all aircraft from the runway, all emergency services, ambulance and fire service. We have crash foam, and then it really is an emergency.
Okay, thank you, Bianca. Thank you, In.